We'll call our meeting to order. Okay, we'll call the budget workshop to order tonight. We have a few departments to review. We'll start with John. Did you want to go first, John Lawler? You got on mute.
Sure. I'll go first.
And have the people who are here go first.
I apologize. I wasn't expecting to go first. I would have had a collared shirt on.
I had a request that you wanted to go first, but maybe I was mistaken.
That's fine. I'll take it. Okay. Thank you. As everybody knows, my budget typically is predicated on what is needed by other departments going forward, as well as our mandatory drug testing and some other total contractual services as far as federal and state compliance posters and general office supplies. Basically, we're looking at a total budget of $125,514, which is a little bit higher than last year's, and the drivers for that budget are a couple of additional fire testing that we're anticipating for 24-25. We're anticipating additional captain's test, as well as one additional entry-level test. And the other drivers in that increase are a slight increase in our EAP cost for next year, which is a year two increase of a 2-year contract. So I'm anticipating to go out to bid after next year to hopefully reduce those costs. And the other driver for that increase is our psychological and tests for our police department. Basically, we've been experiencing really having to go through twice as many psychological tests to hire our employees for the police department. I'm not quite sure whether that's a generational issue or what have you, but that has been increasing over the last couple of years, in that we've had to essentially year to date, we've had to go through twice as many psychological tests than we did hirees. So that cost is going up. In addition to that, we've had a little bit of an increase in our random testing for drug testing and alcohol testing for our DPW, police, and fire. So that's increased those costs in the drug testing, random testing, and pre-employment physicals.
So, John, I understand the psychological part and the last part you mentioned, but why are we testing for more firefighters? We had, I would say, as many more slots last year than we anticipate this year.
Yeah, so Pete, basically we're anticipating a captain's test next year because of a retiree. That would result in a lieutenant's test, and then we're anticipating an assistant chief test based on some movement within the department. And we're also anticipating a retiree of a assistant mechanic. And then we will be doing a new entry-level test because we are basically, we just completed the last round of interviews for our fire entry level, and we need to rebuild that. We need to rebuild that list.
It's mostly higher end testing in the fire department that costs more.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, any questions for John? Diane?
John, just a question, when you were talking about the psychological testing for PD, is that for existing officers or new officers coming in?
That is for new officers coming in, Diane. Basically, new officers are required to go through a polygraph test as well as psychological testing. And, we've had a really bear of a time lately with getting through those two portions of the test. We've had candidates that complete the oral and complete the commissioner's interviews. But once we get into those last two phases, we've been having a real big problem.
So is it the test or they go see somebody?
I think it's the people, Diane.
No, what I'm saying is it the test that you're talking about, or if they don't do well on the test, they have to go see somebody?
No.
Yeah, so if they don't do well on the test and they pass and they don't get a recommendation for hire, then they're off the list and we have to go on to the next person.
Okay, all right, I wasn't sure where that was. Thank you, John.
Yes, yep.
Okay, any other questions for John? Okay, thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next will be assessors A08. Oh, there he is. I didn't see you behind Fran over there.
Hiding over there.
You're the assessor. I don't blame you for hiding.
Gotta keep a low profile, you know?
Good.
Thanks for the opportunity tonight. Yes. Oh, oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
I don't mean to take your job, Ken, but,
So, as everybody knows, we did a reevaluation last year. So expenses in the office went way up due to the revaluation. And this year, we're able to cut back on a lot of those expenses. Overtime, we actually didn't use much of that, but I like to keep a little bit of an overtime budget if I can, because we run into situations where we're up against the deadline. If we run into a problem, I need to bring people in, to meet all our deadlines. Like there'll be certain times of the year when our workload gets very high, obviously when we're compiling the grand list. And other points throughout the year, for example, now we're coming up on the Board of Assessment Appeals, and it's a cycle where every so often we try to meet deadlines. So I'd like to preserve some of that if I can. The education completion, we had a turnover of one person in our staff. So everybody knows Jody Pinto, I guess, long-term employee with our office. She's now taking a job over at Park and Rec. So she was getting an education completion stipend, which we're no longer gonna need to fund, and that's what that $800 difference is. Board of Assessment Appeals, again, last year we anticipated a heavy load with the revaluation. This year, I've gotten so far 32 appeals, so it's not that bad, it's manageable. And what I've done is I've calculated what we're gonna need for the Board of Assessment Appeals, and you see there's a steep reduction there. I'm basing that estimate on 6 meetings, that's 4 people, there's 3 members plus an alternate, and then 42 hours for our recording secretary to do the minutes and all of those things in the minutes along with that. Personal property audits. If there's something I skip over, please, let me know. Personal property audits, we generally spend that money this time of the year, usually after April 15th. That's when we'll do several of our audits between mid-April and the end of June. So that we anticipate spending all of that. We've got a good audit program where we conduct about 10 or 11 audits each year for area businesses to ensure that they're compliant with their requirement to file a declaration for their personal business property. That's kind of it. The rest is just the, salaries or what they are based upon the collective bargaining agreement. And those are the highlights. there are any questions?
So Shelby, you still having, good returns with Savoy on the, vehicle registrations?
We are.
Yeah.
We are. So we're continuing that program and we're budgeting 50,000 for that. And then the other expense is $14,630 for what's called pictometry. We do an aerial flyover. And that's the annual cost for that service.
Is that a year-to-year contract or are we in a
It's a
term?
2-year contract.
Okay.
We actually do a flight once every 2 years. So that contract includes the flight, one flight, and then the software and the licensing and all of that goes with the program itself.
And other departments use pictometry.
Yeah, we are
as well.
also. We just started using it. It's amazing. Any other questions for Shelby?
Some people really not know what the 50,000 is for, about the checks of, the vehicle.
For Savoy?
For the.
Yeah. Shelby, you want to explain how?
Most of them.
Okay, James.
Savoy
say it.
is It's an agency that, they have, the ability to drive around and they will check license plates and they can tell if that vehicle is registered here in Naugatuck. Obviously, if it's an out of state, it's pretty self-evident. They have the ability to look up that out of state registration and provide us with that information so that we can create it and generate a tax bill. So, it's an annual, pretty big effort. We about 350 vehicles on the grand list every year just from that one program.
How long does the other thing take for the rest of it?
Technically, it's 60 days. They're responsible to change their registration within 60 days. But, some of these out-of-state vehicles, typically what you find is people move to a new state, a new town, and they think, well, I'm not gonna change my registration until it expires. And they don't wanna pay the tax. Yeah, they don't wanna pay the tax, they don't wanna pay the whatever they want, they don't wanna do it, they don't wanna change it. But, we find them and we have to explain to them that, sorry, statute here in Naugatuck. And, we have a process where we'll send them out a letter, first of all, to give them an opportunity, give us an explanation, maybe there's a good reason why we shouldn't tax them. We go through that process, and once we determine it's taxable, we add it to the grant.
And I'm sure you find a lot of folks.
A lot of Florida, a lot of New York over the last.
Yeah.
A lot of New York. New York, property.
And so the question for you, do you have the ability to check to see if it's registered? Do they have the ability to check to see if the tax type is not?
Yes,
So they can find both,
well,
because you can register your car in Naugatuck, say, your tax town, you put down in, Millville.
right. So along with the information that's provided to us, they can provide us where the person is employed, where they work, where their primary residence is. They look at utility bills that may be in the name of that person. So we can file all that information and, make a determination as to where they should be taxed. And again, we have a letter that we send out. If they want to come in and tell us, I shouldn't be taxed in Naugatuck, and here's why, and we'll listen to them.
But Savoy's not chasing Connecticut flights yet, right? She's only chasing out of state flights.
We're in the process, and I've been asking, so I think this year, we're gonna be actually looking at other, vehicles that are registered in Connecticut, but in other towns. For example, Waterbury. We get a lot of requests from the city of Waterbury telling us to hand over our tax bill to them because they've determined that someone who had a Naugatuck registration is actually in Waterbury. So, I'd like to be able to do it. Fair is fair. If we're gonna be giving them our vehicles, I'm sure there's a lot of vehicles that are,
We resolved that, Shelby.
Yeah.
You're authorized to proceed.
She has the science,
yeah.
or Savoy investigation.
No, I know, I just,
Waterbury-
I want to
very
be clear.
impressive.
They are.
The program, very impressive,
And they've been for a few years.
yes.
It's not clear.
What about, go back 3 years?
My daughter's girlfriend, my daughter's friend was staying with her boyfriend, and she got snagged.
Oh, yes. Oh,
So
yeah.
have we broken even on our investment on that product at this point, at least? We're well over? Okay.
Well, yeah. Off the top of my head, big.
Collect a lot.
Great.
Yeah, I think the first year or two, we weren't sure if it was actually getting returned, but I believe we are now.
Still some difficult ones out there.
Always will be, so.
Marshall Barberi needs to stay in business.
Any other questions for Shelby? Okay, well,
He's not worried about it.
okay, Shelby, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, let's do, tax department next, A07.
Oh, there we go.
All right, I'll move over to the sheriff because it's closer, man. So the, our only really difference in our budget is our contractual payroll. We're down a little bit in postage and in printing because every year we try to get more bills into the same postage, and every year we try to get, printing of less bills that come out of there. So different things we send out either ourselves or we put more bills into specific envelopes. So we're there. On my line item, and I apologize, my mistake here, it says overtime in the overtime line when that should have been the part-time line. And it wouldn't show the difference of the 79.52 because, that 79.52 should be the other thing was moved up to the proper line.
So the 79.52 should be overtime, not part-time?
No, it should be part-time, but it wouldn't be a difference because it would be the same as last year.
Oh, I see, okay.
It'd be the same as last year. If everything moved up a line,
I see now, okay.
the part-time should be in the part-time line. We don't have overtime. I just make a small step. No, we're doing.
Okay, any questions for Jim, for tax department? And you're in your new office now?
We're in the new office now. Please feel free to stop by.
To pay your bill?
Don't bring a lot of friends. There's not a lot of room.
Okay.
Good thing you know what, I'm putting around one down there. So everybody's on Friday, suggesting what you do, how you do it.
All good. All good. We welcome all suggestions all the time.
I have none.
There you go.
Any other questions for Jim?
Nope.
All set, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay,
Have a great day.
elections, A06, A06. All yours now.
You know that you really need that department.
Oh, sorry. No, that's for you. I was gonna pass one down, I dropped the thing.
A lot of pages.
Yeah, watch one out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Brad, keep them up. Sorry, I never said this to Alan, but, together with everybody. No, I forgot to,
Okay, cool.
I forgot to send it to you for those who were about, I forgot. So,
You can make up any tabs you want.
Yeah, no, I will, I'll email to you so you can forward to those who were.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that.
So, welcome to early voting. That is the lion's share of our increase this year. But we'll go through line item by line item. So you got regular payroll's up about $6,000 this year. For the presidential years, for the union contract, our clerk goes full-time 6 weeks before that election and 6 weeks after, because there's a lot more work to do. Other than that, they're only 20 hours a week. Registered deputy, that's staying the same. Election payroll, that is the majority of the increase, and that is almost all due to early voting. There was a slight increase in minimum wage, so we adjusted our pay accordingly as well for that. So that's up 96,000. Of that, almost 85,000 is just for early voting in August and November. That's 21 days total of early voting.
That's
Election-
all at one location, right?
Yeah, that's just at the Parks and Rec building every day. We'll have early voting in April, 25th, 26th, March 25th, 26th, 27th, and 30th, or the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Saturday. So if you want to see early voting in action, come vote early.
But don't vote often. But don't vote often.
But don't vote on it.
Okay.
It's one vote. Election supplies, again, presidential year, you're talking 70–80% turnout. So you're buying more ballots, you're buying, everything more of, so those prices go up. School allowance, that is up as well. Every 4 years, we are required to recertify our moderators. Every moderator needs to go through recertification. And we try to get them all in the same path, so even somebody who's done 2 years ago will recertify and get everybody in that 4-year schedule going forward. So that's this year. We try to do it in presidential year, so when you have that big election, everybody is fresh with training. So that's this year. Longevity, I don't know why that's in here. That was never in before. I don't know where that 114 came from. Oh, okay. I never seen that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're separating it out now because of Uniform Chart of Accounts.
Okay.
State.
I just never seen in the budget before this year.
But now we're showing a cut for you.
So you got that, conference, state mandated, we're required by the state to have so many training hours. The ROBAC conferences are what we do to get that, training. And, as we just said, we have a new clerk in the office, so she will take the UConn, training sessions that Louise and I have both taken in the past. And we will have her fully certified as to work in the registrar's office, and that's 2,000. Maintenance of equipment, that is the maintenance for the tabulators, that's state mandated every year. Slight increase, we believe, going to happen this year. We haven't got a set salary, so we put, or a set amount, so we put in the slight increase to cover that. We were already over a little bit this year because the contract came in a little higher than we were expected. Supplies for computer, that stays the same. Capital outlay, that's up a little bit. We've been investing in what we need to successfully hold elections over the past couple of years, new UPSs, new equipment and whatnot. So this year we have in there, for about 15 new voting booths. And the voting booths are not your standard ones that we're getting that are just a single voting booth, which by itself would cost you $300 for it. These are new. Each voting booth is $1,000, but it's 4 booths in one.
Should
And
that
then
go
they all have
under,
a handicap one, so everything's built in there.
should that
So you
go in
get the
capital?
4 voting booths
Not if
for one
they're,
price, and we're looking to get at least 2
Go either
per
way.
voting location.
It's usually $5,000 item each.
Well, eight's more than 5. I'd rather put it under capital. So, well, for reasons unrelated to this budget.
Yeah, that's not a problem too. I got no problem with that. And then also in here is the covers for the voting booths. Let's protect our investments. So they're protected in the, when we're
Well,
not
I mean,
using, and then the supplies we have, the cabinets we have. So,
The covers will move as accessories to your booths.
okay,
Okay?
yeah,
Yeah, wrap it all in one package.
Yes.
and that's great, wherever it has to be budget, but we'd like to invest in that this year. So we've been doing a little investment every year. We've had the voter checklist in the past. We've had, and part of that contract actually is the 2-year renewal for voter checklist. It's not in the capital part. But it's in the-
Are you required?
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just a canvas cover. It's actually built for those voting machines specifically from the vendor.
Are you required by the Secretary of State's office to report inventory on your equipment?
Just the tabulate.
Thank you.
Just the tabulate. Yeah, we had that question with the old UPSs. We weren't sure. And the Secretary of State, we asked the Secretary of State to dispose of them, and they said, no, do whatever you want. Track them.
Do they have storage requirements of you?
Again, just for tabulators and ballots and, cast ballots and stuff like that. That's where we bought some newer cabinets, bigger cabinets over the past couple of years.
So Matt, theoretically, every town in the state has these same upgrades to their budget, right?
Yes,
I mean, for early
for
voting.
early voting. Yeah, to different extents. This year it's the first year we're doing it, so we don't know quite the turnout. Plus, it's the presidential, which is the biggest turnout of all of them. Next year in a municipal year for early voting, we could probably do it a lot less people because we're probably not going to get a whole lot of people coming for early voting for the municipal election. And we can maybe handle it in our office or with 3 or 4 people rather than 7 people with staffing it. So next year's early voting dates will come down. However, for a presidential election in the first time, we got to plan for having a decent turnout and be able to staff all that. And the state has come back many registrars have asked the governor and secretary of state, and they all come back and say, don't expect any more money. We
What
got a
percent,
10,000.
what percent do you project, this is just for my own curiosity, of early voting versus absentees?
I don't think we're gonna get many.
Right.
I'd be very surprised. First of all, look at the ballot.
Well, I agree, I just
You know,
wondered
But
if statewide someone's gonna realize
Yeah.
that.
no, it's just like our IPS machines, we test those, we put them in every polling place and nobody uses them. You know, but the state requires it.
No, I know, I just,
I know.
The state gave us
You
some
have it
figures.
for 14 days before November. Because an absentee ballot can be returned in.
absolutely, I just,
I don't-
it's easier
the
too.
burden on the- You know, it states that they were going to, and then
The state did give us some figures in some early voting plans based off of other states who implemented, and like the first time I think it was Georgia did it in 2016 for the first time, and they had like 20 to 25%. But it grew over the years, so eventually it was like 50% turning out over early voting. So, it may start off low this year at 20%, but by 2028, 2030, we may be up to 50% people voting early voting.
Michelle thinks it'll cut her ABs.
NAD should go
Yeah,
down,
they should
yeah.
go down.
But we're using AV ballots, which cost more per ballot. Instead of, I don't know.
Well, they're barcode.
Yeah.
Because we have to still separate the 9 districts. So if you go to Andrew Avenue, we have to know you voted at Andrew Avenue. If you voted at Central Avenue, so they all have, and the ABs are always barcoded for whole bills. So, yeah, so, and the ABs cost more. And then they're color coded because there's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line is, there's no way out, right?
There's no way out, and more expensive all around.
Still throw you up.
Yeah.
So you're only voting, you're not gonna have a tabulator there to,
Yeah, there is no tab, and well, that actually adds to the cost too, because when you do early voting, you're gonna put your ballot, you're gonna get absentee ballot, you're gonna fill it out, you're gonna fold it up, you're gonna put it in an envelope. That you name and sign, it's gonna be dropped into just a ballot box, with no tabulator that it scans at that point. We collect all those over the early voting days, and then we have to hire counters, which will be our absentee counters, but then they're gonna come in and do another set of tabulators, and they gotta count all the early votes separately, so that adds additional cost.
Which will be secured, brought in and secured in a, they have a cage downstairs in the hall.
So Matt, do you count them every day or you?
No, they get counted only on election.
Okay.
They will be open and they'll be secured in the town clerk's office. In fact, we did get a grant this year, because we put $5,000 in this year's budget for early voting, because we weren't sure what kind of money for supplies. Instead of using that, we got a $10,500 grant from the Secretary of State. Every municipality got the same, Bridgeport got 10,500, we got 10,500, and Goshen got 10,500. But we bought early voting bags that are specifically, we could seal them up. We're buying actually a couple of the voting booths, for the early voting locations, out of that money. We got some other supplies, another cabinet, laptops, because we need laptops for there, because we can't use the early voting laptops, because we're programming them for voting day, for election day, why we're using primary.
Yes, Diane.
So with this early voting, let's just talk about the presidential election. The election is.
November or,
November,
okay,
for actual presidential. thing.
Yeah.
Election day is Tuesday. But doesn't the early voting end on Saturday?
early voting will end on Sunday. So you have, for an election, you have 14 days of early voting, starting 15 days prior to the election. So we'll start on a Saturday and go until it'll start on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that whole first week, and then the whole second week, and then on Sunday.
Okay.
Well, no, then it would start on Monday, sorry, it'll start on Monday through Sunday, so 14 days.
Yeah.
And then 2 of those days are extended, so you'll see in the budget, under the election payroll, you'll see a short day and a long day, we broke them out. So the Tuesday and Thursday for the primary, the election there's a couple extra hours of early voting compared to a short day.
what would be,
Normal hours are 10 to 6, and then the extended hours are 8 to 8.
So you have to get there earlier.
But you have an hour before, hour after, we have family worker too.
Oh, no, I understand that, just from.
Yeah, 10 to 6, and then the long day during.
So are you planning on using the machine from early voting for the regular election?
Which machine?
Well, the vote, what people use to vote.
You mean the tabulator that you
Yeah.
put your ballot through?
Yeah.
No, the tabulators, there is no tabulator for early voting. You're gonna put it in an envelope and you're gonna drop it in a ballot box, which we bought out of the 10,500.
And then we secure it and then we lock it up.
Okay.
But we have one extra tabulator that we've always had as a spare. Now, we actually have to use it. We're not gonna have a spare, but we always had an absentee backup machine. Instead, we're actually gonna use that. We're gonna put all the early voting ballots to that, but that's done up here by a team we hire
Yeah, like-
separately on election day.
Okay,
So on,
It is
a-
only counted on election.
so on election day, if I show up at Central Government School, I can still use my paper ballot into the tabulator.
Yes, but
Okay.
election day, nothing's going to change.
Okay.
So if you vote on election day, you get the ballot, you throw it through the machine. However, now, you put it in for early voting,
Early
you
voting.
put it in an envelope.
Got it.
It's just like
It's like
absentee.
absentee.
Think of it
Yeah,
centralized
yeah, it's like-
absentee.
Okay.
It's like voting absentee.
Consider it
That's exactly what.
different
The
envelope,
only
but
thing is absentee ballot, you can pull out day
Yeah.
before, and early voting, you can't.
so if you voted by absentee, you could pull it out and say, no, I'd rather go in person, I want to change my vote. Town clerk will void it out, we won't count it. Early voting, as soon as you drop in the ballot box, it's kept full.
JB has your, has your name on the outside, then,
Right.
Early voting is stupid, the law doesn't.
but it's, yeah.
All
Thank
the
you.
law, so if you want to change any of it, go to Hartford.
I have a question. How do voting booths wear out?
How do
They
I-
break over time. I mean, these voting booths were
Well, they're
2005.
They're two thousand
Do
seven.
people sit on them?
2007, no, it's every time they're moving, like,
Oh,
you know, we lost a couple wheels because they keep them up in the attic. And it
oh, okay.
rained one time, so it broke.
Just wear it down.
And then every time you open up the voting booth, you try to stick those little nubs in the side, few of those are broken. Some of the like, we have a light missing on a, handicap one. We have to replace.
That's a little ironic.
It's a plastic.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate. It does happen. They do break. We try to take care of them as best we can. You know, Jimmy's actually the guy who set them up for us. Now,
Okay, I have a quick question. Bob Neth has his hand raised. So Bob, go ahead.
I think that's the mouse.
Is that the mouse?
That's
Bob's
enough?
on mute.
Oh, I thought- I'm sorry. Never mind, Bob. We thought it was the,
Go back to the
it was
game.
the mouse.
It's yellow.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Bob. Any other questions for Matt? So it sounds like you have your hands full for this election.
We are, and we're ready. We're ready for it.
Last year, you had in your budget storage for all the equipment that's over at the event center. We took it out, which worked out well. We're probably gonna be there to the end of this year. But the last 6 months of the next fiscal year, we're gonna have to find a place to put that equipment. It's more than.
You
likely
don't
the
have to,
building is
we'll
gone.
find them a place.
Okay.
I asked the mayor that earlier in the
Good.
week,
Okay.
or last week specifically,
Just
when
wanted
we
to
have a
be
storage
sure.
spot. He said one will be provided, and actually our stuff is still back there.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Matt? Good. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And we-
Dismiss.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, administrative A01.
all right.
Is that you?
Pete,
Pete?
are you
What?
gonna do administrative?
I didn't look at it, but I will if you want. So as far as I know, it's the same as last year except for contractual increases.
Sure.
That's my report. Same as last year except for contractual increases.
Administrative A01. Any other questions to the mayor on administrative? Okay. Next would be, legal, A15, legal. You again?
Yeah, I'll do it. Let me look first to review this. All right, so the only, um, I don't know, well, the only change, that I'm aware of is I reduced the amount we're paying for outside commercial appraisals and allocated it towards outside legal counsel because we have a few higher end appeals such as Walmart that are very extensive in dollars amount claimed. So we already have the appraisal, but I brought in a hotshot outside legal counsel to handle the case. And we have a couple other cases in that category. But Walmart, we expect a pretty big fight, and there's big dollars at stake.
Are they our largest taxpayer? One of the largest?
No. So who are our three largest?
I'm gonna say, Eversource,
Yep.
Yankee Gas. Well, that's part of Eversource. Water company. And then Horizon Homes.
Horizon Homes was the first one, highest other than utility companies. So the bigger apartment buildings and the shopping plazas are higher than Walmart. Walmart to me is undervalued and it should go up a lot. They're gonna fight, so we'll have a fight.
Okay. Any questions to the mayor on legal?
Okay, what's next?
Next, okay. Next will be, well, since we're in the legal mode, settlement of legal claims, B25. B25, settlement of legal claims,
No change.
no change.
Yeah, there's no other changes in legal.
And then elderly program, B22,
No change.
no change.
I would note, we haven't implemented that in the last several years, right? I don't know if we will or we won't, but I'm good with no change.
No change is good.
Well, I mean, are people asking, because it's stopped because of COVID, are people asking for it?
Yeah,
Oh, they are.
these people, want to do it. But
They want to, but they not necessarily commit to it. Is that a better way to put it?
no, there's a wide range in levels of talent in the people who apply. And, in the business world, you know, the higher end people would get it and get more, and the lesser people might not get it at all. And this program is in essence a compromise to help people and at the same time to get as much out of them as we can in whatever department they're best suited for. Now, what we did determine is that rather than have them, we'll say as greeters in the town hall, we're gonna have them at the senior center helping Harvey, where I think they can do more good and it would be more suited to their talents. So that was our plan last year. And we didn't implement it, but people want to implement it and we probably will. And we'll probably send everyone to the senior center to help Harvey and see how it works out.
And Harvey needs the help out there.
What?
Harvey needs the help though.
Yeah.
He's excited about it.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah, and I think the talents of the people would be better suited there than in the assessor's office in the town hall.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, though that is all we have for tonight.
That's it.
Well, Veterans Council, no, well,
Veterans Council.
well, it showed a change, but there was no change.
Right.
And this proves that there is no change
Correct.
in the Veterans Council.
It's housekeeping. Next week is Town Hall, Finance, Information Technology, Land Use, Wage Increases, and Probate Court. The following weeks, The
Probate.
11th, oh, sorry, probate, we're moving to August, sorry, April 8th. So no probate next week. However, the 11th, we have the police department, the 18th, public works. Those are usually two very large, complex budgets. No, different nights.
Oh.
On the 11th,
I thought you said it was
the 11th is the police department, and the 18th is public works, and those are usually longer, very complex budgets. And then the 25th, Board of Education will be out at the Board of Education conference room. James and I are meeting with Chris next couple of weeks to go over that budget before.
Which budget?
Board of Ed.
Who's meeting?
Chris would like to talk with me and James about it. He did last year too, so just
Yeah.
a quick overview. And
When's he gonna talk to me about it?
he hasn't talked to you yet? He better talk to you first.
You talk to him first.
Yeah.
Gonna talk to me last,
What you say counts, not what we say.
right, Dorothy?
That's right,
Yes. Yeah, that's gonna be an
So
interesting.
let me say something about that. So we've all heard, and it's true, that about 4 or 5 years ago, the state imposed a spending cap on all municipalities of 2.5%. We've met it every year. It's not easy to meet it. And don't forget, we have new revenues every year that make it easier for us to meet it. There are certain things that count and don't count, but we've always met it. This year, if the Board of Education budget were adopted at the full request, it would exceed the spending cap by quite a bit, and we would be penalized by the state. So we're gonna have to sit down with the Board of Ed and find a way. Obviously, the teachers' wages will all be paid, and their budget will go up quite a bit. But I can tell you right now, it's not gonna go up at their 8.25% increase when every town budget is under 2.5. So, we've got to find a way to work through that, and we will. But I think I would say that will be our biggest challenge as a town this year.
It's gonna be a challenge, yes.
So I expect James and Ken to
How
come
much
back
is the
with a
penalty?
solution.
Do you know how much the penalty is? Or is
Allison?
it for,
I think it's graded by,
dollars or
How
percentage
much to go
over?
over?
I'm
Or
gonna have to
both?
get those very
Yeah.
specifics on.
So they're including the Board of Ed budget and municipal.
Correct.
Because usually they separate them out.
Yeah, they-
Because because remember, they always said the Board of Ed budget you can't reduce it to the prior. to
No,
the prior
but that
year.
we only get penalized on the amount we increase it over and above last year. So if we increase it by 2.5% and we increase the town side by 2.5%, we're fine. But if we increase it by them by, say, 6 and us by 2.5, we go over. And it's not exactly those numbers because we do have some new revenues that help
The ECS,
and have helped in the past and will also help this year.
ECS funds also went down.
What? And they are gonna get the extra million from, I shouldn't say they are, because it's never over till it's over, but the governor's attempt to take money, that million that would have gone to them is not gonna fly. So they will get that extra million.
This budget,
In what?
in this budget.
In this budget. For this year.
Next year will be a whole other story.
Next year will be a fight.
So start cutting now. And anticipating next year's budget.
They have to.
that's the proper way to project.
That's my fund.
Kind of warm yourself up. Get used to it. Don't take the pain all at once.
Hey, we're good, so meeting adjourned at 16.
Good talk.
Okay,